The laughter hit the room before Emma Parker even sat down. "Where's your husband and kids?" Lily said loudly, her smile sharp. "Oh, right. You don't have any." The words cut clean and fast. The dining room filled with chuckles. Even their parents laughed short, uncomfortable laughs, but they didn't stop it. They never did. Emma stood still for half a second, holding her coat in her hands. 36 years old, standing in her childhood home in a quiet suburb of Chicago, feeling smaller than she had at 16. She forced a smile, the polite kind people used when they didn't want to explain pain. "It's nice to see you too, Lily," Emma said calmly. She moved to the far end of the table, the same seat she always took. The quiet seat. The one no one noticed. The one that made it easy to leave early. The house smelled like roasted chicken and warm bread. Family photos covered the walls: weddings, baby showers, birthday parties. Every frame told the same story. Everyone had moved forward. Everyone except Emma. That's what they believed. Dinner moved fast. Lily talked about her kids' school projects. Her mother asked about Emma's job without really listening to the answer. Her father nodded, silent, checking his phone. No one asked how Emma was. No one ever did. Emma worked as a librarian in a small town outside Chicago. She loved her job. She loved helping kids discover books, helping older people find comfort in stories. But to her family, it wasn't impressive. It wasn't loud. It didn't come with photos that could be shared online. So Lily said again, sipping her wine, "Don't you get lonely?" The table went quiet. Emma felt heat rise to her face, but her voice stayed steady. "I'm not lonely." Lily raised an eyebrow. "Sure." Their mother cleared her throat. "Lily, eat your food." But there was no real warning in her voice. No protection. Emma looked down at her plate. She wasn't angry. She was tired. Tired of being treated like a mistake that never corrected itself. She remembered a time when she had dreamed of marriage, of children, of a life filled with noise. But life hadn't followed that plan. Love hadn't been kind. And healing had taken longer than anyone expected, including her. After dinner, Emma helped clear the dishes. She always did. It gave her something to do with her hands. Something to focus on. In the kitchen, her mother stood beside her, drying plates. "You know Lily doesn't mean harm," her mother said softly. Emma paused. "She does." Her mother didn't answer. That silence hurt more than the joke. Emma left early, blaming work in the morning. No one tried to stop her. As she drove away, the house grew smaller in her rearview mirror. Her chest felt tight, but her eyes stayed dry. She had cried enough years ago. Now she just felt empty. She drove past dark streets, past closed shops, past homes glowing warm from inside. She wondered how many people behind those windows felt just as alone. When she reached her apartment, she kicked off her shoes and sat on the couch in the dark. The quiet wrapped around her. It wasn't painful. It was familiar. Her phone buzzed. A message from Lily. "Didn't mean to upset you. Just joking." Emma stared at the screen, then placed the phone face down. She wasn't upset because of one comment. She was upset because no one ever asked her story. Because no one knew what it had cost her to survive. Years ago, Emma had loved deeply. She had planned a future. She had believed in promises. When it ended slowly and painfully, leaving her to rebuild herself piece by piece. She chose peace over chaos. Healing over rushing. Solitude over wrong love. But those choices were invisible to people who only counted rings and babies. The next morning, Emma returned to work. The library was quiet, sunlight falling across the wooden floors. She felt calm there, useful, seen in small ways. A young boy asked her for a book about space. An older woman thanked her for recommending a novel that helped her sleep at night. These moments mattered, even if no one at her family table understood. Around noon, her phone rang. Unknown number. Emma hesitated, then answered. "Hello." "Emma Parker." A man asked. His voice was calm, warm. "This is Daniel, right? We met a long time ago. I hope I'm not calling it a bad time." Her heart skipped. She remembered him instantly. Tall, quiet, kind eyes. They had met at a charity event years ago, talked about books, travel, and the pressure to live a certain way. He had listened, truly listened. Something rare. "No," Emma said slowly. "It's not a bad time. Back in Chicago for a while," Daniel said. "I heard about the reading program you started. I was wondering if you'd like to catch up. Coffee, maybe?" Emma looked around the library, at the shelves she loved, at the life she had built without approval. "Yes," she said. "I'd like that." When the call ended, Emma sat quietly for a moment. Her heart wasn't racing. She wasn't nervous. She just felt curious. That evening, she stood in front of her mirror longer than usual. Not to impress, just to remind herself who she was. A woman with scars, yes, but also strength. A woman whose life was full, even if it looked quiet from the outside. She didn't know what the meeting would bring. Friendship, closure, maybe nothing at all. But for the first time since that dinner, Emma felt something shift. Not hope, not love. Just the sense that her story wasn't over, and that soon someone might finally hear it. Emma didn't expect the cafe to feel like a refuge. But the moment she stepped inside, warmth wrapped around her like a soft blanket. Outside, Chicago's streets were slick with melted snow. But inside, the smell of coffee and pastries made her relax in a way she hadn't felt in years. She scanned the room, half expecting Daniel not to show. But there he was, sitting at a corner table, reading a book as if the world outside didn't exist. When he looked up and smiled, something inside Emma shifted a quiet recognition. A connection she hadn't realized she'd been waiting for. "Emma," Daniel said, standing as she approached. "It's really good to see you." "Daniel," she replied, a small smile tugging at her lips. "It's been a long time." They sat down, the conversation starting cautiously. Polite at first, but then it deepened. They talked about books, about the literacy program she had started, about small joys and quiet disappointments. Emma felt herself letting go of the armor she had carried for so long, piece by piece, word by word. He listened in a way that didn't judge her choices, didn't measure her life by milestones or societal expectations. He asked about her passions, her fears, the things that made her heart race quietly in the night. For the first time in years, Emma didn't feel like a guest in her own life. Daniel made her feel seen, not because of what she had or hadn't done, but because of who she truly was. His attention was steady, warm, grounding. She laughed more than she had in months, and the sound surprised her like genuine, unguarded. Over the next few weeks, their meetings became a routine, not out of necessity, but desire. Walks along the lakefront, quiet dinners at little-known restaurants. Evenings spent wandering the city streets, talking about everything and nothing. The snow melted and returned. The city moved on. But Emma felt herself moving too, not forward in a rush, but in a steady, sure rhythm. Each encounter brought her closer to a version of herself she had almost forgotten. A version that could hope again without fear. Daniel never asked about her marital status. He never questioned her choices or the quiet life she had built. He was present entirely in the moments they shared. And in that presence, Emma discovered a new courage, the courage to be herself fully, without apologies. One evening, after a long walk along the river, Daniel paused and looked at her seriously. "You know," he said, "people often mistake what they see for what exists. They think happiness is loud. They think life is measured in rings and children. But that's not always true." Emma looked at him, a gentle smile forming. "And silence becomes mistaken for failure," she said softly. He nodded. "Some lives are deeper than what anyone notices. Yours is one of them." The words stayed with her. She realized she had spent too many years measuring herself against a standard that was never hers. She had lived quietly, carefully, and it had been enough. When Emma finally brought Daniel to a family gathering, the scene felt different. She was no longer the timid, awkward sister at the end of the table. She arrived with someone who saw her clearly, someone who appreciated her in ways her family had not. Lily noticed first the way Daniel's eyes lingered on Emma with respect and warmth, not judgment. Their parents noticed next, subtly, in the way they observed their daughter's confidence, the ease in her laughter. The focus had shifted from societal expectations to genuine connection, from achievements to authenticity. Later, as the evening grew quieter, Emma sat near the fireplace, Daniel beside her. The family still laughed, still told stories, but the laughter no longer carried the sting it had before. Emma felt a sense of calm settle over her, a peace she had thought she might never reclaim. She realized that the approval she had longed for from her family wasn't necessary anymore. She was enough, and she had found someone who recognized that. As the night ended, Daniel squeezed her hand gently. "You're remarkable," he said, "and not because of what you have or haven't done, but because of who you are." Emma looked at him, her heart full, and for the first time she didn't need to explain herself. She didn't need to justify her choices or defend her past. In his eyes, she saw validation that mattered more than anything else. Walking back to her apartment later, she felt lighter. The city lights reflected in puddles along the streets, and she felt as if they mirrored her own transformation, broken yet beautiful, still and moving at the same time. Her life, once measured by absence, now felt defined by presence. Presence of love, presence of understanding, presence of herself fully realized. Even as she prepared for bed that night, Emma thought about her family, about the laughter that had once stung so deeply. She realized that people often cling to old perceptions, unable to see the depth beneath the surface. That wasn't her problem to fix anymore. She had reclaimed her narrative, and with Daniel, she had the beginnings of a story worth telling, one built on truth, connection, and quiet courage. And yet, as she drifted into sleep, a thought lingered soft but persistent. When the full truth of her life, of her choices, finally showed itself to those around her, would they be ready to see her as she truly was? The question was no longer a source of pain, but a quiet curiosity, a cliffhanger for the chapters yet to come. Emma had survived so much, loved so cautiously, and now, she realized, she was ready not only to live fully, but to be truly seen. Because love, she understood now, wasn't about timing, or noise, or proof. It was about presence, about being fully known and accepted. And in Daniel and herself, and in the quiet courage she had carried all these years, Emma finally found that presence. Her story, long hidden behind polite smiles and family expectations, was unfolding beautifully, honestly, and with a promise that the best chapters were still ahead. That night, as the city hummed softly outside her window, Emma allowed herself to dream, again, not the dreams that others had set for her, but her own. Dreams filled with possibility, with companionship, with connection, and with a love that didn't judge or compare. She knew challenges would come, old wounds might resurface, and her family's perceptions might linger. But she also knew she had a choice now, to live her life fully on her own terms, with someone who truly saw her. Emma smiled to herself, feeling a quiet thrill. Life had given her many setbacks, many moments of doubt. But it had also given her resilience, a capacity to love, and the courage to wait for the right kind of happiness. And now, for the first time in a long time, she felt certain that happiness wasn't something she had to prove, it was something she could simply live. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. A message from Daniel. "Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Coffee." Emma chuckled softly, typing back a quick reply. "Absolutely. See you." She set the phone down, letting the quiet of the night wrap around her. The snow outside had melted, leaving glistening streets that reflected the city lights. Inside her apartment felt warm and alive, a sanctuary that had always belonged to her. And in that warmth, in that quiet certainty, Emma understood the most important truth. Her story wasn't over. Not by a long shot. It had only just begun.